Do you ever catch yourself saying something like this? I just want to have clarity on what I should do next. Like if you could just see that path really clearly, whether to stay where you are, go, shift, leap, pivot, then you'd know exactly what to do next. And this sounds harmless, reasonable, logical, and strategic. But most of the time, when people say, I just want clarity, what they really want is actually certainty. They want 100% certainty that the change they make will be a success. Clarity and certainty are not the same thing. Clarity is not a lightning bolt, it's a process. And most people aren't stuck because they don't know what to do. They're stuck because they're waiting for a feeling of certainty. That will never come. I'm Nagar and welcome to the Consulting Game. In this episode, I am going to break down what clarity actually is, why we've been taught to chase the wrong thing, and how you can stop spiraling in indecision and start leading forward. Let's get into it. So, where did this idea even come from? That clarity is supposed to feel like this sudden aha moment. Well, let's start with what most of us were taught, especially in spaces like consulting. We're shown and we're trained and we see to value logic, certainty, precision. You're rewarded for being decisive, being data driven, having timelines, having frameworks. So when it comes to your own career, it makes sense that you try and apply the same approach. I'll think harder, I'll analyze more, I'll research until the answer just magically reveals itself. But there's a trap here. The clarity you're looking for isn't intellectual, it's emotional. It's about alignment, direction, intuition, things you were never taught to trust in a professional context. So, what happens? You stall, you overthink, you wait for some inner yes to hit you, and it never does. You think maybe if I stay a little longer, or talk to one more person, or read one more article, then I'll know. Let me give you a metaphor I use with clients. It's like being in a car in heavy fog, waiting for the road to become visible all the way to the end before you start driving. But that's not how fog works. You only ever see, a few meters in front of you at a time. And the only way to keep going is to start driving through the fog, not wait for it to clear. Clarity works in the same way. It doesn't just show up before you make any movement. It shows up because of the movement that you make. Let's talk about what clarity actually is and isn't. Clarity is not a moment of certainty. It's not a perfectly mapped 5-year plan. And it's definitely not a rush of motivation that solves everything overnight. Clarity is the confidence to take your next step without having all of the answers. It's when your mind and your values start aligning around what matters to you now, not what made sense to you 5 years ago. And most of the time, you don't think your way into clarity. You act your way into it. Now, I want to talk about how this came up for me when I was in my corporate job. This is something I don't often talk about, but I think it would be helpful here. So, a number of years before I left my corporate job, I spoke to a coach and I went through all the same things that you're going through right now. I knew I wanted to do something else. I didn't know what it was. So she helped me build out a 5-year plan. Now, that 5-year plan, year 2 was, I want to be known for something. it wasn't clear to me exactly what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, but we just took a best guess. And I started trying things out and experimenting. I didn't wait for certainty. I didn't wait for that gut feeling, the sign, the lightning bolt, because it never came. I created what I was to do next. Now, I went through the same things. What if I regret leaving? What if I lose everything I've built? What if I just need to try harder where I am and just enjoy it? One of the things my coach never did, she didn't talk to me about quitting or staying or getting really concrete about any one thing. She just talked to me about experimenting. I started to look at different career options, both within my corporate job and outside. I started to look at what other people were doing that I liked, and I started to experiment. And what that meant for me is that I actually started a few years before I left my corporate job, started putting up videos on LinkedIn, just talking about the things that I found interesting, that I felt people needed to know, that I felt people would value. That's where it started. I then became a coach. I then became a leader who coaches, and I started exploring being a coaching leader in my corporate job. And that actually made me enjoy my job even more. But that's what led me down the path I'm on now. I even started my business while I was in my corporate job with the permission of HR. I started experimenting. I did 4 hours a week in my business in the evenings and at the weekends. And I started trying different things. And I figured out what was directionally correct for me. Now, do you see the way I don't say, I found the route? Because I didn't. I knew directionally where I wanted to go. And I started following my gut and I started experimenting even more. And ultimately, I built a business for myself that allowed me to leave my corporate job. I didn't have the full picture, but when I started doing that experimentation at the start, I actually felt like I was leading the process. That's clarity. Not because I had a guarantee, but because I started to build momentum. And with that momentum comes trust in myself and my ability to figure it out. The three habits that typically keep us stuck in a loop, I want to talk about now. They keep us stuck in that loop of indecision. It's not because you're lazy or unclear or uncommitted. It's because you're caught in three sneaky habits that look like productivity, but are actually stalling tactics. You could be over researching. You think if you just read one more Harvard review or Gartner report article or listen to one more podcast, even this one, you'll figure it out. But information isn't your problem. You're not lacking insight. You're lacking that self-trust. And over researching gives you the illusion that you're moving forward without requiring any risk. The second sneaky habit is over optimizing. This is where you start building 72 different future career models in your head. You compare every possible path. You look for the one that's most strategic and most logical and most risk-free. But the problem with that is you're trying to intellectualize your way out of a soul level decision. There is no perfect path. There's only the path that's aligned with what matters most to you right now. And most of us don't get there through spreadsheets. Over responsibility is the third one. This is a big one, especially for us in consulting. You don't just think about what you want. You think about what your partner would think, what your colleagues would think, what your boss might say, what your mentor might advise. And somewhere in the middle of all that, you lose your own voice. So let me say this very clearly. You are the expert of your life, not anyone else. And if your needs feel inconvenient, in the world you're in, that's not a sign to silence them. That's a sign to listen harder. And here's the common thread across all of these three habits. They're all trying to buy you more time. But clarity isn't about more time. It's about better questions, experimentation, and braver steps forward. So if clarity isn't a lightning bolt and it's not a perfectly risk-proof decision tree, then what is it? It's a movement, it's testing, it's starting small and building trust with yourself through action. Clarity is a byproduct of asking better questions and experimenting, then doing something with the answers. So let me give you a few ways to actually start building clarity in real life, not in your head. The first thing is ask better questions. Instead of asking yourself, what job should I do next? Ask yourself, what energized me this week? What kind of problems do I want to solve? What part of my work makes me feel most like myself? Your brain can't answer vague, pressurized questions like, what job should I do next? But it can respond to curiosity. The next thing to do is make it low stake. Instead of trying to figure out your forever answer, ask yourself, what can I explore in the next 30 days? Maybe some coffee chats, maybe some mini experimentations. You're not committing your whole future here. You're just gathering real data from real experience. And then the third thing I want you to do is build momentum, not certainty. You don't need a 5-year plan to take a 5-day action. That first small step builds confidence. And that confidence, that's what will start to bring you clarity. Most people think they need clarity to act, but really you act and then the clarity follows. So if you've been sitting in your head, looping, waiting for the perfect plan to drop from the sky, this is your sign to stop thinking and start moving. Even one step forward is clarity in motion. I hope today's episode helped you see that clarity isn't waiting to find you. It's waiting to be created by you. And no, you don't need a lightning bolt. You need a question. You need to experiment. You need a next step. You need to move, not perfectly, but intentionally. Because action is what creates insight. And insight is what builds clarity. And if you want more support on this topic, come to my upcoming webinar called Reset Your Consulting Career. It's on Friday, May 23rd at 12 o'clock, British summertime, Irish summertime. This is where I'll guide you through it all. It's what I use with my private clients. And you can come to this even if you're not 100% ready to take the leap just yet. The link will be in the show notes or head over to my LinkedIn. It'll be there as well. And if this episode resonates with you, send it to someone that you think will benefit. Until next time, you don't need certainty to move. You just need the courage to start experimenting.